الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فإن الله تعالى مع المتقين. وبعد. Alhamdulillah, we have young brothers and I assume young sisters with us in attendance today, and I am very grateful for that because this khutbah is for you, young brothers and young sisters. And for those of you that feel young, take from the khutbah that which you like. But this khutbah, this message is directly for you, young brothers and young sisters who are yet to take upon yourselves the burden of responsibility, and you have those upon whom you can rely to take care of your needs and to take care of your dunya for you. Because unfortunately for you, a day will come where others are relying upon you. And Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, he famously said, تعلموا قبل أن تسودوا. Educate yourselves before you become leaders. Why? Because when you have to lead, you no longer have the opportunity to educate yourself like you once did. And you have to make do with the few hours that you can spare weekly or the few minutes that you can find daily. My message for you young brothers, so pay attention, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created jinn and mankind except but to worship who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you may assume from that which you've experienced in your life, from that which you've seen so far, that worship means to pray 5 times a day, to fast, to recite the Quran. But that's the foundations of worship. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, بُنِيَ الْإِسْلَامُ عَلَى خَمْسٍ. That Islam is based upon 5 things, built upon 5 things. So if you have the shahada, you're a Muslim, alhamdulillah. You pray, alhamdulillah. You fast, alhamdulillah. You give zakah, alhamdulillah. One day, bi'idhnillah, you'll perform hajj, insha'Allah. Then you are doing the basics. That's the foundation. But Islam is a lot wider than that and a lot deeper than that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِعَبْدٍ خَيْرًا اسْتَعْمَلَهُ. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for one of his slaves, as we are all the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses him. Uses him for what? To serve the deen. As the best of us served the deen, the Prophet ﷺ, and the best of the followers of our Prophet ﷺ served the deen. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, تعس عبد الدرهم والدينار أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He said, the servant or the slave of the dirham and the dinar, the one that runs after this life, is destroyed, is lost. Why? Because when you go into the grave, this dunya doesn't go with you. The dirham doesn't follow you. The dinar doesn't follow you. The pound doesn't follow you. The dollar doesn't follow you. The gold or the silver or the nice watches or the nice cars or the nice clothes or the house or the beautiful wife or even the children, they don't follow you. What follows you into the grave? The deeds that you put into your akhirah. And every generation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala selects individuals to be from those who serve the deen, those who uphold the deen, those who sacrifice their dunya for the sake of their akhirah, and in doing so, they receive the baton from those that ran the race before them. And so, my young brothers and my young sisters, I would like you to think about what you want to do with your lives. Think from now. No matter what age you are, think from now. Whether you're 5 years old, 8, 10, 16, 20, it doesn't matter. 25, no problem. Think about what you want to do with your life. We have many people running after this dunya. Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us the dunya. We don't need any more dunya. But what we need is members of our community, i.e. the community of Islam, that are willing to sacrifice this life, give up this dunya, work for something better, work for something that lasts longer, which is what? The akhirah. Those that are learning so that they can teach. Those that are learning so that they can act. Those that are learning so that they can serve. And it takes a lifetime. It takes a lifetime. We need young brothers and young sisters who say to themselves, when I grow up, I want to be from the ulama, from the scholars of Islam. I want to be from those that sacrifice whatever time they have, whatever intellectual capacity they have, whatever strength they have to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for those of you that have children, for those of you that are responsible, our responsibility is to raise the next generation upon this type of thinking. That's our responsibility. When we look to what is happening around the world today, there are short-term and long-term solutions. And one of the long-term solutions is to contribute towards raising the generation that's going to make a difference. Raising a generation that is not interested in the dunya and not engrossed in the dunya as we have become engrossed in the dunya. To raise a generation who are not concerned with their stomachs and their private parts, as we have unfortunately become concerned with our stomachs and our private parts. It's a blunt reality, I'm sorry. That's the way we have to be thinking. And so, my young brothers and sisters, as you are heading back to school, to college, to university, think about what you want to do with your life. But think about your actual life, not this fleeting, temporary life that we find ourselves in now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when speaking about the akhirah, He tells us that that is the life. the life. Why? Because it's everlasting. It's everlasting. And the one who saves himself from the punishment in the next life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that that is al-fawzul mubin. That is the clear success. And that's the purpose of this life. Your purpose, young brothers and young sisters, is not to earn the most money, or to find the most attractive spouse, or to have the most children, or to invent the best of inventions. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's your purpose. You've been honored and blessed to be from the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu salam. And your purpose is to serve that ummah and to serve the deen. That's your purpose. If you choose to take up that purpose, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you the best of this life and the best of the next life. Guaranteed. Promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if you choose to run after this life, like many of us have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will select other than you. Allah will choose someone else. Allah will use you based upon the decisions that you make. And so you need to start thinking now. Doesn't matter how young you are. If you look at the Sahaba, they were young companions of the Prophet ﷺ. They were eager to serve by his side and they were turned away because of their young age. But their eagerness started from a young age. They were not concerned with this fleeting life. They weren't concerned with this life, this dunya. They wanted to serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they wanted to meet Allah as the best of servants on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And so as you head back to your education, think about how you can use it and how you can use your time to serve the deen of Allah. I know many of our young brothers and our young sisters, Allah has granted them great intelligence, great strength, great determination. But unfortunately, it's not being channeled in the right way. Channel it and do something special with your life. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده وصلوات ربي وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء ومن تبعه وبعد. As was mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you, young brothers and young sisters, to be from the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu salam, a nation that has been referred to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the best of nations. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. The best of nations delivered to mankind, but conditional. تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. That you call to that which is good, you prevent and call against that which is wicked, and you have belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and belief entails action. And if you choose to turn away from the purpose that Allah has given you as a Muslim, you will not find contentment in this life. You will not. You can have the best that this life has to offer you, it will not make you happy. And it will not fill that hole that you have inside you. Because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can fill that hole. Only purpose can fill that hole, especially for young men. Especially for young men. And that's why we find today so many young men that are suffering from depression. Because without purpose, a man has no reason to do what he does daily. But with purpose, you will do things that other men cannot do, and you will do them with love and conviction. So think about it. You have time ahead of you, but the time will not always be ahead of you. One day soon, time will be behind you. And you will look back and you will say, if only I used my time. Alhamdulillah, Allah has given you the opportunity. Time is in front of you right now. Use it. Make the right decisions. Think about how you're going to use your time. Don't waste your time on computer games. Don't waste your time on films. Don't waste your time on mobile phones. You cannot get that time back. And you cannot purchase time. Anything else can be purchased, but not time. Use it. And for those of you that have those under you that you're responsible for, be responsible. Be responsible and take care of the next generation. That's our wajib. And one of the reasons we are suffering as an ummah today, because we are not taking care of those that we should be taking care of. Absent fathers, absent mothers, absent communities. And that is contributing to the problems that we have today. The big problems and the small problems. And so if you want to make a change, that's one way we can make a sure change. But it takes long-term thinking. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant our youth the ability to be servants of the deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use them and grant them wisdom and grant them action upon knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likewise use us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not replace us with those that are better than us, but instead make us better. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine victory. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them steadfastness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept those that have been taken away from them to be from amongst the martyrs. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our shortcomings. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Warda Allahumma an Abi Bakr wa an Umar wa an Uthman wa an Ali wa an sa'ir sahabati ajma'in. Allahumma tub alayna wa afu anna innaka mujib ad-da'awat. Allahumma ansur ikhwanana fi Palestine. Allahumma ansurhum nasran mu'azzara. اللهم عليك بأعدائهم يا رب العالمين اللهم عليك بأعدائهم يا رب العالمين اللهم خذهم أخذ عزيز مقتدر وانتقم منهم فإنك أنت المنتقم اللهم استعملنا ولا تستبدلنا وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وأقم الصلاة